Okay, let's go for another 15-minute game this afternoon. While we're waiting, let's try and see a title player game. If I do who space T, check out. Bxb5 might be playing. Well played on ChessCube. He's 2445. This is Bullet. I thought it was pretty good, pretty useful on ChessCube. So if he's the same one, he's quite a young GM, about 16 or something, 17. Nija Bxb5. Excuse any incorrect pronunciation there. Yeah, I think these two pass pawns are going to secure a win here. He's also got the time advantage. Yep, he's spotted rook a3, a bit desperate. So, we've got a game. Okay. So lg2 2027 could try a Nimzo engine, but first let's have a quick check on rating stats. Okay, 5 minute 1587 over 14 games, 1 minute 1797, not too bad. Let's play maybe Nim's engine wasn't bad, but I like King's engine most of the time, I think. Sämisch. Okay, move frequencies healthy there. There isn't a 3-second relaying delay. There's some assurance that I'm playing a human. So okay, in his 15-minute bit stable, 21 games, he's lost 7, he's won 14. He does lose. Knight h3 looks like a... Okay, it's a move I've faced before. He's going to play knight f2, he's going to strengthen his centre. Can I just play for b5 as a gambit to generate some play, like a Benko gambit? Try and just make a position easier to play at the expense of a pawn. Second Benko gambit type strategy today. Put the rook on b8, aim for knight e5 to c4, put pressure on the queen side. That's a bit annoying. I could make him waste time with his queen if I take, but then h4, h5, so let's just do this. I don't want the queen over there. He's weakening his own dart squares a bit, surely, with this idea. So knight e5 here looks good for knight c4. Keep this pawn here, I think, for d4 control, central square. There's sometimes a temptation to play c4, but it does weaken quite a lot the position. If I play h5 here, there's knight g4 to f4. So I think I will play that. Although e5 might be strong at some point. So f4 is still on the cards. If I try and... oh dear, I can't do anything about f4 now. Okay, what about rook takes b3 actually? There's a pin over here. Rook b3, that's useful, and then there's knight c4. Missed that first time. Quite handy. There is a battery of rook and queen on the A file. So f4 is now answerable with knight c4 now that that b3 pawn's been taken. Let's say queen b3. Queen b3, there might be knight b2 even. Queen b3, queen d3, I mean, knight b2. That looks pleasant. Seems to have pressure. In fact, I can get a triple battery, AAA, with rook a3. Triple A battery. So knight c4, okay. Kick the queen with tempo. In fact, isn't there rook takes c3? Doesn't that just end the game because of... no, there isn't knight e2. The knight's not on d4. Hallucination time. So rook b2 here, there's knight d3. Rook b2. He's protecting the rook now. There's no knight b5 there. I can just take on b5. Probably it's a good idea to play rook b2. If knight d3, there's rook d2. And there might be ideas of knight e4 and queen d5 at some point. Rook a2 doesn't seem to do anything. Rook a3, is that as good as rook b2? Say he moves the knight, he'll be attacking c4. Is that a major problem? There's rook takes here, takes, and queen takes will protect c4 actually, as well as put more pressure on f2. So that's positive for the invite. Knight knight move, knight d1, again knight d1. That might be trickier. Rook b2, knight b1. Okay, that could be the refutation, unless rook b4 there. So to succeed in tying that knight down to d1. So let's go for that. I think rook b2 might be safe to play. Knight d2. Sorry, knight d3, rook d2. So, what's going on here? If e5, okay, there's rook d2 here, as previously noted. I think the knight is. I have to do something about the rooks now. There's no rook g2, knight e4, queen d5. Rook d2. Okay, I think we'll go with rook d2. Then maybe rook a3, just get the rooks in. In fact, everything's looking pretty delicious on g2 here, coming down to the king side. So rook a3 looks pretty tasty. So if the knight moves d3 will drop. I think I'll play this. It's getting a bit exciting. Control the excitement here of the rook pressure. So there's rook on the 7th. Queen is lovely placed on a8. I like queens on a8 sometimes. Maybe rook takes c3 is worth noting anyway. Knight e4, queen c4 doesn't do anything at the moment. Knight e4 is definitely worth noting as well, but knight e4 is attacking the rook as well. Queen d5, knight d2, rook d3. So there's a few forcing moves just to keep note of. If circumstances, if conditions change later, those forcing moves might actually be useful. If they're sort of emphasising some tactical vulnerabilities, that still applies. So knight e4s, rook d3s, rook c3s, all these needs to be noted. Maybe even rook a2 needs to be noted. Rook g2 needs to be noted as a forcing move. So under certain circumstances, some of these may work. e5, knight d5. So he's under pressure clearly. This infiltrating rook. In fact, am I not threatening queen a5 here? Attacking this. If that moves, then rook d3. This could be the day of the Benko gambit striking. If e5 there, that's a problem. There's no knight d5. So say rook c3 takes. There's no queen d2. The knight's protecting that. It's queen and d3 is attacked. So queen a5 seems to be a very, very nice, pleasant threat to have in this position. Okay, so queen a5 maybe is the major threat. This could be a Diet Coke break at this rate. Okay, so he's protecting his second rank. Circumstances, have they changed? There's no rook f2, there's no rook a2. Queen a5 might still be useful. If the knight moves here, at least actually the queen's protecting d2. Knight b1 forks both rooks. That could be nasty. But there is rook takes f3 there. So I think I'm going to go with queen a5. It seems to add some security to the position. Diet Coke break. I like this infiltration here. e5 though might be a problem. Oh, actually there's knight d5 because there's the rook on it now. Okay, he's on the c4 knight. f3, I can play rook takes f3 and damage his king position a bit. I think I'm going to do that. It seems to be damaging because if he has to play g takes, it looks pretty unpleasant. But is there anything stronger? Rook takes a2, he's covering f2 with his knight. So takes, but I'm covering c4. So rook takes a2 is actually possible as well. Maybe that's stronger. Rook a takes a2. If queen c4 there's rook a1. If rook takes there's queen takes. There's no rook a3 there because the knight's covering. The queen's protecting that. I think I'm tempted to nab that pawn. That gets rid of rather his passed a pawn. Okay, we've got battery now across position. There's knight e4 actually as an immediate threat, maybe. Takes check, and if king f1 there's queen e2, otherwise mating with rook h2 and queen g2. So knight takes e4 seems to be a new threat here. Power of the battery here with rook and queen. Actually, maybe I should be a bit worried. His highest rating was achieved just today. He's new on this 15-minute, but it seems to be a good position anyway. So I'm optimistic at this point anyway. It seems to be cool so far, this game. And he has lost already 7 anyway. So I think he's just new on this pool. So queen c2 here. Anyway, queen c2 looks to be... already I'm a pawn up here anyway, so queen c2, anything stronger? That would seem to be logical, queen c2, just to get the queens off, keep the rook on the 7th. I can't see anything wrong with that. Queen has to do something about that, knight c3. So queen c2. Let's go with queen c2 here. So again, if he takes, okay, I take, and if he plays e5 here, there's no knight d5 now, okay. Okay. Now knight takes e4 as a forcing move. Knight takes e4, rook c1, there's rook f1. So I don't think that helps, but maybe rook c1 is a useful pin. Threatening knight takes e4. So I'll go with rook c1. I can't see anything any more useful than that at the moment. I'll keep some time pressure and time in reserve. It looks as though knight e4 is nabbing another pawn. Check takes rook takes d1. Don't think there's any point looking for anything stronger there. I can't see anything wrong with that. Okay, now another pawn, so 2 pawns up. Also d5 is under fire now. Now there's also e5 to use as a nice square, juicy square. Or taking on d5. If I take on d5, he's got a kind of dangerous free hand, you could say, after takes knight g5 knight e6. So I think I want to play knight e5. If rook f4 is knight d3 check. I want to stop this free hand here. Rook d5 can be used under safer conditions. That was a point. What about h4 here? There's rook g5. There's f6 there, sort of trapping the rook. So I'll go for h4. Because there's no rook g6 because of knight g6. The knight's pretty handy in this position. And then I can play takes and avoid this e6 being weakened with fg. So I can nab this pawn over here. That wins another pawn. There's knight c3. Rook d2, king e3, there's knight c4 there, so I think I'll nab another pawn. 3 pawns up. going to be 4 pawns up soon. So if I play check, rook on the 7th, so king e3 does knight c4. Okay, so knight c4 here or rook d3. That looks like a nice pin on the knight which you can't escape from. If king e2, there's rook g3. So I'll go with this pin, I think. Pin and win as a principle. It ties down the rook. 3 pawns up here. So I'll just protect the rook, keeping the pin. And okay, so there's knight c4 here, forcing rook b3. There may be knight d2 forcing rook a3, then knight e4. I think I'll go with that forcing sequence. He's resigned here. Okay. Okay, let's have a look. So that kind of transposed into a sort of Benko gambit strategy. So I missed rook takes b3 straight off the bat, but now I found it. Pressure with that infiltrating rook. Nabbing another pawn, starting to be material up, nabbing yet another one. Avoiding dangers with knight with takes, knight g5 to e6 could have been dangerous. Avoid giving the opponent a free hand, new principle. Taking more pawns, again avoiding the opponent having any free hands by pinning, pin and win. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. I hope you enjoyed it, got something from it. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.